Hello, Science 20s. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to backtrack a little bit and re-look at molecular compounds. I need to know that you're good at this so that we can move forward and do some calculation work next week. So, a reminder, a molecular compound is when we have two nonmetals that share electrons, meaning their valence electrons are sharing here to get full octets. Some examples of this with two nonmetals would, of course, be water. We've got nonmetal oxygen with nonmetal hydrogen, ammonia, nonmetal nitrogen with nonmetal hydrogen, and methane, nonmetal carbon with nonmetal hydrogen. These guys have common names. There is a list of molecular compounds in your data booklet on page 5. I would flip there now and take a look. This is where we're going to find some common two nonmetal compounds that have common names like water. We don't want to call it anything else. Water, we use it every day. We're going to call it water. But that's also where you're going to find things that have three nonmetals in them that we don't have rules for, like glucose and sucrose and methanol and ethanol. Please take a second to look at those because those will pop up and you need to know where you flip to look up their names. Secondly, over here, we'll go to page 2. I want to teach you or remind you the system from Science 10 of naming molecular compounds. We're going to use the prefixes here over on the side. Again, if you have them memorized, wonderful, you're supposed to from last year. If you do not, you can look them up. Again, they're in your data booklet. They're on page 9. They're quite straightforward: mono, di, tri, tetra. From 5 and above, they're all polygons. So penta for pentagon, octa for 8 for octagon. Pretty straightforward, and you can always look them up. Here are the rules we're going to go by. Rule number 1, name the first nonmetal element using a prefix. However, if the first nonmetal element is a 1, do not use the prefix mono. We never use mono on the first element. On the second nonmetallic element, though, use your prefix every single time. But also remember to change your ending of your nonmetal to IDE. So what I would like us to do is let's try an example. So I always tend to do my examples in a certain order. So I'm going to come over here and grab a pen. And let's start with CO2. So we're going to name the C, which is, of course, carbon. Now, carbon has a 1 here. It's just not shown, but we don't use mono if it's on the first element. And then O2 would be oxygen, and because there's 2, it's di. And we're going to call it oxide with an ID ending. So carbon dioxide. No real surprise there. Every single person walked into the room knowing carbon dioxide already. So let's do the second example. Again, we only have a single C, so we're just going to call it carbon. No doing mono on the first substance. Now the second one is O, and we only have 1. This time we will use the monoxide. Because remember, on the second element, we always use the prefix. I would take a second now if it was me, pause the video before I do these two, and then write them down what you think they are, and then check your work with me in a second. So looking, I would call this dicarbon. And again, 2 of them, dioxide. And our fourth one, again, there's 2 of them, dicarbon. And a single there would be monoxide. So remember, you are always using prefixes unless your prefix is a 1 on the first substance. So I'm going to erase all those. And we can go to the next page. And I would like you to pause your video as you try naming these molecular compounds. Pause now. I'm going to grab my pen and I'm just going to name them. 1 carbon, this is going to be carbon. And then we have 2 sulfurs, so this is di, and remember to change the ending to IDE, so this is disulfide. We have 2 nitrogens, so this is dinitrogen. And we have only one oxygen, so this is monoxide. 4 phosphorus is tetra. Phosphorus. And then 10 oxygen would be deca for 10. And oxide, because we're going to change to an IDE ending. 2 borons would be diboron. 4 hydrogens would be tetra again. And then hydrogen changes to hydride. Again, the IDE ending. 1 nitrogen, we'll just call it nitrogen because we don't start with mono ever. And then 3 iodines would be triiodide or triodide. And then 5 sulfurs would be pentasulfur. And then 7 is hepta. And then chlorine is chloride. So pentasulfur, heptachloride. Hopefully you got all 6 right. So I'm going to clear the screen. And I'm going to move to the next screen. Okay, we know how to go from symbols now to words. What I would like to do is let's go from words, their names, and actually write chemical formulas. Again, we have the rules up here at the top. Write the symbol of the first atom and include the prefix as a subscript. That's that little number down below. And then write the symbol of the second atom and include the prefix again as a subscript. The only time we won't be including a subscript is if it says mono. We're not going to write the 1 down. So again, let's get my pen over here. Triphosphorus, so I look up. Phosphorus is a capital P. Tri is a 3. Hexaiodide, well, iodide is an I for iodine, and hexa means 6. Silicone, Si. It didn't have a prefix, which means it's a 1, so we're not going to write anything. Dioxide, so we're going to put in our O, and di means we have 2 O's. Dinitrogen, so nitrogen again, and di still means 2. And pentaoxide, oxide is oxygen, penta is a 5. Remember, you can always reference over here on the right-hand side of your table. So I'm going to clear those off. We're going to flip pages. Again, if it was me, I would pause my video. I would like you to try the next 5 for us, and then unpause the video and check my answers out. So sulfur is S-dichlorine, Cl2 for di. Arsenic, oh my goodness, I gotta look this one up. Arsenic is AS. Should know that one. Monoxide, so that's going to be an O for mono, just one of each of those. Dinitrogen, N2F tetra is 4. Diphosphorus, that's P2. Pentasulfide is sulfur, penta is 5. And silicone is Si, tetrachloride, Cl4. Hopefully you got 5 for 5 for those. I'm going to clear them, and we'll go to the last page. Okay, the last page is really just me pointing out some spots in your data booklet again. So if you don't remember your diatomic, polyatomic molecules, your Hofbrinkel, your rule of 7, your Gin rule, they're at the top of the periodic table listed. If you don't remember your prefixes, mono, di, tri, tetra, penta, hexa, hepta, octa, nona, deca, they are in your data booklet on page 9. And if you need to look up anything like hydrogen peroxide, water, methane, methanol, there's a list of common compounds in your data booklet on page 5. Thank you, and hopefully your assignment goes all right.